those who are older to help the younger ones understand what school is about. This is not playtime. We're going to call the roll based upon the test that you took. Some of you may be in a different level. We will have 3 levels. I'm going to call the level 1 students first. And if you are in the wrong area of the room, would you please move? I want the level 1 students across in the front. And we'll give you time to do that. When your name is called, what do you do? Can someone remind us? Yes.
We go to the spot that you have.
You stand up by your seat and answer what?
What level word?
Not this time, but say present so that I know that you're here. Jane Baser.
Here.
I'm reading level 1 students now, so remember your number. Some of you will be changing seats. Henrietta Bechtel.
Present.
Mary Doherty.
Present.
Horace Graham.
Present.
Anna Joveski.
Present.
Julia Kelly.
Present.
Thomas Lawley.
Present.
Mary McCann.
Present.
Mary Ward.
Present.
Jenny Warren.
Present.
These are the level 1 students. Would you all stand? You're going to be sitting in the front part of the room. And most of us are girls, it looks like. So you'll be just in this first part of the rows. And will you please come up to the front? And would you switch seats with him? Thank you very much. Level 1s may sit down. You did a very nice job for newcomers. These will be our level 2 students. Herman Bechtel. George Close.
Present.
Sarah McGuire.
Present.
Ida Miller.
Present.
Leroy Rundell.
Present.
Walter Sinton.
Present.
James Smalley.
Present.
Joseph Smalley.
Present.
Electra Sutliff.
Present.
Patrick Tierney.
Present.
These are our level 2 students. Now you're going to have to move back behind the level 1s. So I think from the 3rd person up, you just need to move up 1 seat so that she can go back with the level 2. That will work. Even farther back. Who is our last level 1 person? Yes. Very good. Thank you. Are you a level 1? Would you come up with the level 1s a little closer? Thank you very much. And we have a level 2 student at the back. Where's our last level 1 student up here in the front? And you're all level 2s? Okay, would you move up about 2 seats? And you're level 2 as well? Would you move up toward the front? And whoever is in that chair, just move back. All right, the rest of you are level 3s. That's fine, thank you. John Clark.
Present.
And you're a level 3, would you please move back farther? And a level 2 student can move up. Nathaniel Gilmore.
Present.
William Kirkwood.
Present.
Randolph Largent.
Present.
Elma Magruder. Michael McGinnery.
Present.
Ebenezer Roberts.
Present.
John Sheets.
That's you, King.
John Sheets.
Present.
Very good. George Stevens.
Present.
I'm so glad that everyone is with us today. We'll begin our opening exercises by singing. Everybody stand up. Shoulders back. Remember, we have to allow the air to come and make the sounds. We'll be talking about that later. I hear some noise. I shouldn't. Stand up straight. You may face the piano. We have so many new students here. Not everybody knows the words to America. How many of you do know the words? My country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty. Very good. I'll go over them once. Those of you who don't know them, try to join in when you can. And I'll play the melody. My country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty. Of thee I sing. And where my fathers died, and where the pilgrims died, from every mountainside, let freedom ring. Very good. You may sit down. I'm hearing too much noise as we go from one activity to the next. Remember yesterday? We don't want a repeat of that, do we, Ebenezer?
No.
Thank you. We'll have our scripture reading for the day. Proverbs 19, verse 8. Listen carefully. We'll discuss the meaning of this verse in just a moment. He that getteth wisdom loveth his own soul. He that keepeth understanding shall find good. What does that mean for us, and how can it help us in our studies today? He that loveth wisdom does good for his own soul. What does that mean? Yes?
He loves himself.
If you study hard, it means that you are doing good for yourself and for your betterment. And he that hath understanding shall find good. What does that mean? Yes?
He loves others and not himself.
Right. We have to not only gain wisdom, but we have to gain understanding. And we have to have this throughout all of our relationships with our fellow men. Very good. There is a moral there. Remember what a moral is? That's our lesson for the day. And we will be using that later on in the day. Now we're going to have some current events or historical facts that you remember from our studies. I will not call on anybody at first as long as we have volunteers. And maybe some of the things that you say will remind others of some facts. What is happening in 1876 today, this time, or what has happened in our history until now. Does somebody have something to share with us? For instance, who is our president? Yes.
George Washington.
No, but he was one of our presidents, yes.
Andrew Johnson.
No.
Abraham Lincoln.
No.
Ulysses S. Grant.
Yes. Our president is Ulysses S. Grant. Let's all repeat that.
Ulysses S. Grant.
And he was famous before he became our president because what did he do? Yes.
He fought in the Civil War.
Yes. Any other information?
He led the north side of the Civil War.
Yes, and what was his rank?
To free the slaves.
He did that. What was his rank in the army?
General.
He was a general. Very good. You know we're going to have an election this year, 1876, this November. It will be interesting to see who becomes our next president, won't it? Another fact. Boys, have you heard something about sports that happened this year?
Yeah.
What was it?
Football.
No. The U.S. National Baseball League has been formed, and I know a lot of you like to play baseball. Any other facts that you can think of? Have any of you seen a telephone? Some of you from the East might have seen one. I haven't seen one yet. What a wonderful invention. Do you think that actually people might have those in their homes someday? Wouldn't that be wonderful to be able to speak to somebody far away? I hope that that happens, don't you? Any other facts? Nobody remembers anything from our history lessons? Any previous presidents? You told us about George Washington. Do you remember any previous presidents?
John Adams.
Yes, very good. And someone mentioned Lincoln earlier.
John Quincy Adams.
Yes. So you do remember some things. I'm glad. Yes. Very good.
Abraham Lincoln was assassinated after the Civil War.
Yes, he was. I see that you're finally starting to think in school terms. You've had that long walk, and I know your brain hasn't adjusted to the idea of being here yet. Yes.
The case of Ralph, he was a black man who they hid a house and they tried a case on him that he couldn't live in the house and it was closed in 1973.
Very good. Thank you for reminding us of that. Yes.
Thomas Jefferson.
He was also a previous president. Let's have one more.
Andrew Johnson.
Another previous president. Very good. We're going to have our spelling bee now.
Yes.
And we're going to keep track by rows. We'll give a point for each person who spells the word correctly. And we'll do it by levels. And I know that these two rows have many level 1 students, so there might be a slight advantage. But we will have a cipher down later on, which might be a little more difficult for you level 1 students. So every row has a chance to win for this week. I believe row 2 won last week. So it's up to the rest of you rows to remember that. And let's have some good competition today. I think because we have some new students, we need to review a few of the rules, especially after the entrance that we had today. What are our rules? Enter quietly, sit quietly, and pay attention. Ebenezer, we will not need any firewood today because it is so unseasonably warm, so you will not have to stay after today to cut firewood. Remember to not call one another names. Yesterday at recess, I heard some of that happening. It will not happen again. Remember during quiet work not to interrupt your fellow classmates. Yesterday I heard some whispering among the girls over here. I expect that to not happen again today. Be sure to stay in your seat unless you have permission to leave. 2 of you younger ones yesterday did get up and leave the room without speaking to me first. Please don't let that happen again. And now our spelling bee. Level 1 students, please stand up. This is row 1. You will be part of row 2. You will be part of row 3. And you will be part of row 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4 are your rows. And we'll go down this row first, then this row, and you'll be the first one over here for row 4. All right, row 4. Your first word, we'll start with you. Why don't you stand up? Are you a level 1? I'm sorry. You will be part of that row later. So all of our level 1s are standing. First word, moose.
M-O-O-S-E.
Very good. Remain standing. Your word, organ.
O-R-G-A-N.
Very good. Next word, churn. We will churn the butter.
C-H-E-N.
Churn.
C-H-O-U-N.
Good try. Would you sit down, please? And who could help us out with that word? One of you older students. How do you spell churn?
C-H-U-R-N.
Very good. Next word, alone.
A-L-O-N-E.
Very good. Last person in this row, apple.
A-P-P-L-E.
Very good. We have 4 for row 4. And you may sit down, please. Row 3, bench.
B-E-N-C-H.
Very good. Next word, sheep.
S-H-E-E-P.
Very good. Next word, party.
P-A-R-T-Y.
Very good. And the last word, spike.
S-P-I-K-E.
Good, we have a tie so far. Rows 3 and 4 each have 4. And our row 1 person, horse.
H-O-R-S-E.
Very good. You may all sit down. Level 2 people, please stand. And we'll start with our row 4 person in the back. Your word, garden. Almost, but not quite. Who could help us with garden? There was a D in there. You may sit down, please. Our next row, your first word, shovel.
S-H-O-V-E-L.
Very good. And the second word in this row, school.
S-C-H-O-O-L.
Very good. So row 3 gets 2 more points. You may sit down. First word for this row, and I will add you to row 4, forest.
F-O-R-E-S-T.
Very good. Why don't you sit down? And your word is Iowa.
I-O-W-A.
Would you like to think about that again? There's something that you need to tell me about that word.
Capital I, O-W-A.
Very good. So row 3 gets an additional, row 2 gets an additional point. All right, row 1. Bonnet. I wear a bonnet sometimes.
B-O-N-B, or
Bonnet.
D-O-N-R-T.
Very good try, but we need some help. Would you sit down, please?
B-O-N-N-E-T.
Yes, that's a harder word, especially for boys, I think, since you don't wear them. Your word, bucket.
B-U-C-K-E-T.
Very good. Remain standing so I can get a count. Next word, summer.
S-U-M-M-E-R.
Very good. And your word, spider.
S-P-I-D-E-R.
Very good. 3 points for row 1. Level 3. And I will put you with this row. You can stay there. Your word. We'll have to have some difficult ones, I think. Especially for you two rows to catch up with rows 3 and 4. Your word is Mississippi.
M-I-S-S-I-P-P-I.
Almost.
Capital M-I-S-S-I-P-P-I.
Almost. Very good.
M-I-S-S-I-P-P-I.
All right, with a capital N. Yes. Row 4 will get that point. And there are no level 3s here. You're going to be for this row. And your word is measure. I will measure that for the pie. Almost, but not quite. Would you sit down, please? Yes, would you spell measure?
Measure. M-E-A-S-U-R-E.
Very good. Now, we'll go down this row. Row 2. This is on the line for you. We'll start with you. Your word is governor.
G-O-V-E-R-N-E-R.
Almost, but I'm afraid not. What was the only problem with that one?
You're supposed to put an O instead of it.
It's O-R at the end. All right, your word, fight.
F-I-G-H-T.
Very good. That silent G that some of us have had a problem with. You may remain standing so I can get the count. Next word, soldier.
S-O-L-D-I-E-R.
Very good. Next word, thought. Thought.
T-H.
No, I'm sorry, this row.
T-H-O-U-G-H-T.
Again, one of those silent G's. Very good. And the last one in this row, ceiling. The ceiling is painted gray.
S-E-E-L-I-N-G.
Good sounding out, but I'm afraid that isn't correct. Would you sit down? And row 2 gets 3 points. Who can spell ceiling for us? Yes.
C-E-I-L-I-N-G.
Very good. This row may sit down. And our final 2 spellers. Level 3. Your first word, success.
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 S-U-C-E-S-S.
Almost, but not quite. Sit down. Success.
S-U-C-C-U-S-S.
No, you got the 2 C's, but yes, let's all spell that one because this is an important word for us. S-U-C we want today in our classroom. And our final speller, trying to redeem his row, special.
S-P-E-A-C-I-A-L.
Not quite. You sit down, please. Special.
S-P-E-C-I-A-L.
Very good. Our scores. Remember, we have a cipher down later this morning so that you can get more points to see which row is going to win this week. Row 1, 4 points. Row 2, 4 points. Tie. Row 3, 6 points. Row 4, 6 points. So we have ties here and ties there. Our cipher down will let us know which row is going to win this week. You did a very good job with your spelling. Some of you obviously have to spend more time at home practicing your words. We're going to now have our penmanship lesson. And I'm going to pass your copybooks out to you. And several of you have something to write with. And if you don't, we will pass out pencils. I know many of you do not have such things. And since you're at the front, I'll take advantage of you. In this basket there are pencils. If you need a pencil, would you please raise your hand? We're not doing ink today. We're going to wait until Friday when we've had enough practice with pencils. Would you take that basket and give a pencil to anyone with his or her hand up? You will need your copybook for other activities during the day. Put your name at the top. Print it in the upper right-hand corner, please. Print your name. Does everybody have a copybook? Now, before we begin, everyone must sit up straight. Remember, posture is very important. In order to get the appropriate slant on your letters, you must put your paper at an angle like this. It should not be straight up and down. It should be at an angle. Otherwise, you have to do unusual things with your wrist to get the appropriate slant for the letters. Those of you who insist upon using your left hand, I'm sorry, I can't give you instruction. You will have to figure the best way possible for you to write the letters. I encourage you to keep trying to use your right hand, but if you must use your left, try to find a way that works for you. Levels 2 and 3 students, we are going to work on the capital W in our Spencerian penmanship. Level 1 students, you're going to be working on your printed W's, both your capital W and your small w. Remember that this point comes to the top of the line. Some of you have only been bringing it up part way. So be sure that you have these equal at the top of the line. The same way with your small w. After you have practiced a bit, after we get started, if you want to try the cursive W, that would be very good practice for you. And I understand it might be difficult, but if you try 1 or 2, that would be good for you. Levels 2 and 3 students, we're going to work on the capital W. You'll notice it is missing in your copybook, so you have to look at the board. Is there anyone who cannot see the W? Good. If you will look at your principles of letters, we are using 1, 2, and 6. Those are the basic shapes that we're going to be using in our W. But first, before we start, both level 1 and others, you have to exercise your wrist. And then I want you on your paper to just do a row of loops so that you get your arm and wrist ready to write. Just as you do with sports, you have to warm up. The same thing is true here. So one line of loops across a line of your paper, please. Try not to grab your pencil too tightly. Keep your paper at an angle. Don't have it straight in front of you. After you do a line of just loops. Just for practice. Get warmed up. I will come around to help you individually as you're practicing. Level 1s, do one line of capital W's, one line of lowercase w's. Levels 2 and 3, let's look at the parts. We have a loop here, and then we have this shape, principle number 1. Then up like this, which is sort of our principle 2, down. And don't forget this hook at the end. And be careful of your point. It should be above your loop. So look at this. You may practice parts of it and then put it all together. I will come around to help you. So I want 2 lines of capital W's from levels 2 and 3. 2 lines. Practice, I want you to look at the letter that you think is your best one in your practice and put a circle around it. That's the one you want to copy onto your slate. Now the movement on the slate is going to be a little bit different because it's so much bigger. But try to keep the same shape of the letter and make a W large enough so that I can see it from up here when you hold up the slate. Look at your best letter, try to copy it onto your slate. Level 1s, if you can put both of them on the slate, that's fine, or just do the capital. Yes, sir. If that will help you. The question was, Should you draw lines on your slate to help you with proportion? If that will help you, that's fine. You know, when I write on the board, I put lines so that it will be easy to read so that I don't go up or down. Try to keep it straight. All right, now I want you to hold up your slate so that I can see your W's. I'll look at level 1s first. Oh yes, you've done a good job of bringing the center point all the way up to the top line. And now the level 2 and 3s, the capital cursive. Oh, such an improvement. I'm very pleased to see these W's. Now, would you please erase your slates? As we know, they are a bit messy because of the chalk dust. That's why we're not using them very much today. And we're going to have a little stretch break here in a moment. Stretch. Would you collect all of the chalk? Keep your pencils, but would you collect the erasers? Can you get out of there? And would you please pass your slates to the person behind you? And each of you at the back of the row will set them over in the corner out of the way on our ledge that we use for our younger children to reach the board. Pass the slates to the person behind you. And could you pass his too, please? Thank you. Just stack them way over in the corner. Scoop. Thank you. You have been concentrating very hard, and I'm very pleased to see that you are taking our scripture lesson to heart, that you are trying to gain some wisdom today. I expect you to know more today than you did yesterday. That's all we can do, is try to learn something every day. Thank you, boys. You have been very good helpers. Now I'd like everybody to stand up. And set your pencils on your desk so that you can move your hands. I want you to shake your hands because they've been rather tense. Some of you have been gripping your pencils very hard. And also your fingers. Move them. Stand up straight. Breathe deeply. In. Relax. Very good. Now sit down, please. I'm going to read from our health book. I know for you level 1 students, some of these words will be rather difficult to understand, but if you pay attention, I believe you'll be able to understand what we're talking about. Shortly, we're going to be doing some speaking, and the lesson today is about production of sounds. We've talked about our lungs and how important it is to get clean air and to breathe deeply when we're speaking. And I'm going to have you practice some of the sounds that are indicated here. And you'll get a better understanding of how those sounds are produced. And when we do our elocution to get together today, you can remember these sounds. The method of modulating voice into speech may be seen by producing the pure vowel sounds. What are they? Together. A, E, I, O, U. Very good to see your mouths moving. You can't mumble and get an E-I-O-U out of your mouth. You have to open your mouth and use your lips. H is only an explosion or forcible throwing of a vowel sound from the mouth. I will do the H and then I want you to repeat it. Ha. Ha. That's all it is. It's sort of an explosion. The consonants or short sounds may also be made without interrupting the current of air by various modifications of the vocal organs. In sounding singly any one of the letters, we can detect its peculiar requirements. Thus, M and N can be made by blocking the air in the mouth and sending it through the nose. Let's make an M sound. You can feel, keep your mouth closed, you can feel it in your nose. Now let's do the same with N. Very good. These are nasal sounds. That's enough. L lets the air escape at the sides of the tongue. The air is coming from the side of your tongue. Very good. R needs a vibratory movement of the tongue. You can feel your tongue sort of vibrating there. Very good. B and P stop the breath at the lips. B. Very good. K and the hard G are at the back of the palate. That's in the back of your throat. Very good. Consonants like B and D are abrupt, or like L and S, continuous. Let's do S. Very unlike those short, abrupt sounds. Very good. We don't want to sound like a nest of snakes in here. Thank you. Quiet. Those made by the lips are termed labials. Those by pressing the tongue against the teeth, dentals. Those by the tongue, linguals. Let's try to remember these sounds when we do our elocution, which we are going to do very soon. Now, on the board, I have our various assignments. We're going to be moving around the room. I expect you to have good manners and to help one another in both the memory lesson and the elocution lesson. The reading lesson should be done strictly individually. You will be at your desk. You shouldn't be talking to anyone because there will be noise in different parts of the room. We will try to work as silently as we can when we are doing our oral activities so that we don't bother our readers. Level 1 is going to be, I'll write the pages on the board, page 51 and 29 through 31. And everything is going to be in our level 3 reader today. Level 2, you're going to be reading pages 62 through 65. And level 3, you're going to be reading pages 193 to 197. Levels 1 and 2, you're going to be writing the moral. Remember, we talked about that, and in our Bible reading we talked about what a moral is. Who can repeat it for us? What is a moral? Yes?
Something that teaches us a lesson.
Exactly. So what is the real lesson in what you read for levels 1 and 2? Level 3, you're reading a factual passage today. So you're going to write 5 facts from your reading. And you'll do that in your copybook that you have in front of you. If you finish with the reading before you go on to a different activity, I want you to practice writing your name with the first letter of your name, of course, being a capital. And look at the cursive alphabet. Try to practice the cursive letter of your name, both first and last name. That's if you finish the reading. The second station, you will be at the memory lesson, which is on the back board. Level 1, I expect you to be able to answer either the capital or the state. If I ask you the capital of Illinois, you should be able to tell me. If I ask you the capital of Nebraska, you should be able to tell me. Levels 2 and 3, I expect you to be able, level 2, I expect you to be able to tell me either or. If I give you the capital, you should be able to give me the state. If I give you the state, you should be able to give me the capital. Level 3, I expect you to memorize that list in order, both state and capital, and you should be able to recite it together in front of the rest of the group. Any question about that assignment? The third activity will be to meet with me for an elocution lesson, and we will be meeting right up here. The memory group will be in the back by the board, the elocution lesson will be up here, and the reading will be at your seat. And you will have a chance at each of these 3 places. Facial expression, just that much. Facial expression, making sure that you're pronouncing all parts of the words, standing up straight, but we'll do the 2 parts now. Okay, back row. So everybody can hear the free gesture, even if you're not saying anything at the time. And the ugly old thing will push you away. I want you to listen for the directions. Those of you who practiced the parts within the quotation marks, I want you to get on this side of the room. You can sort of spread out a little bit there. If you read the part without quotation marks, which you get in this row, not over here, but in the middle here, right behind George. And George and George. Would you make sure that everybody in your line has, and some of you have everybody in your line has one. Okay, everybody face this thing. Does everybody have a paper? Did you see that anybody who has hand up? All right, everybody face the other group. I'm not going to help you. You need to get into your elocution position. Stand up straight. Remember your facial expression, the ends of the words, and your gestures. We're not going to bother everybody or anybody else right now, so that you can project, speak so that someone can hear you, but do not yell. I will get you started with a 1, 2, 3, go, and then I want to hear a beautiful elocution lesson. 1, 2, 3, go.
I read along around, and the children say, "You ugly old thing," and pushing away. I lie in my bed, and the children say, "The fellowship head will throw him away." At last I awake, and the children try to make me say, "Head, God,
Very nice. I'm afraid some of you forgot about carrying the breath over in that last stanza, but overall you did a very good job. Would you pass your papers to the person closest to me, and you people can bring them up to me. I heard someone say, "I'm sorry," after something happened, and I don't know what it was. Somebody dropped a paper or something. That is what we like to hear. Politeness. If there are any other books, thank you for bringing yours up. You won't need them. You may put them in the pile. And in fact, would you carry them all over and put them on those desks just so that nobody trips over them? Thank you very much. Now, rows 1 and 2. You are a bit behind in points in our contest. And I told you you will have a chance to redeem yourselves with the cipher down, which is what we are going to do next. And rows 3 and 4 have a slight advantage because our level 1s have been studying very hard. But we'll see if you can recoup. I might even give extra points for very difficult problems. We'll start with the level ones. You will go to the back, 2 at a time, sometimes 3 depending on who's in the row. And I will give you a problem, and you will write it on the board, and the first one to get the correct answer and turn around will get the point. So our first level ones, the first people in the row who are level 1, would you please stand? Any level ones over here? All right, would you please go to the board? Get a piece of chalk. I will read the problem. You'll write it on the board. And you may use this other board over here so that there's enough room for everybody. All right, is everybody ready? Turn toward the board, get the chalk in your hand. As soon as you have finished the problem, turn around, and that will determine who gets the point. 85 minus 6. Row 4 gets the point. 32 minus 8. Is the correct answer, and you are in row 3. 90 minus 11. And your answer is, and that's correct, and you're row 4. 32 plus 8. And your answer is, and you're in row 3. Very good. Elizabeth, 71 plus 6. All right, and your answer is 77, and you are row 4. Is that right? 241 minus 8. And your answer is 283, or 233, I'm sorry. Is that right? And you'll get the point. And that's right, 157. Plus 5. 162 is the answer, and you're in row 1. All right, 1,844 plus 365. $1,844 minus 365. And what is your row? Your row 1. Row 1 172. 1872. Minus 134.
Cursive.
1738 wins in your row. 1. This is the year 1876. Iowa became a state in 1846. How old is the state of Iowa?
I'm done.
Hey.
It's all right. Erase yours and sit down. You get a point.
Hey, you're not supposed to do that.
Yeah, everybody does it because you get a point if you do it. Because since you're all in the same row. All right, here is the score for this week's Spell Down and Cipher Down. Rows 3 and 4 are tied at 9. And rows 1 and 2 are very close. Row 1 has 8 and row 2 has 7. Row 2 you won last week, so at least you have that glory to look back on. You all did a wonderful job. We will be doing this every week, as you know, to keep your skills attuned. I hear some stomachs grumbling, and we will be having lunch very soon, but of course we have to have our grammar lesson first. We will start with verbs, and we'll do this by row. I will give you the first principal part of the verb, and we'll do an example. Then this row will give us the past tense. This row will give us the future tense. And these two rows together will give us the tense of the verb that is required with the helper, like do or did. If I say do, this row will say did. That's the past tense. This row will say will do. That's the future. And these two rows together will say has or have, what would it be? Done. Let's do this together. Do. All together, row. Do. I say do, you will say
Did. Will do. Has done.
have or has done. Everybody got the pattern? Some of these are irregular, you're going to have to think about it. Go.
Go.
What's the past tense? Yesterday I went. All right, let's do this again. Go.
Went.
Will do.
Go. Have or has gone. Let's do this one again. It's irregular. Go.
Went. Will has gone.
Very good. Ride.
Will ride. Has ride.
Have or has
Ridden.
ridden. This is a very special verb because it's irregular in every language. Am.
I am.
I am. Yesterday I
Was.
will be. Have or has been. Let's all do this one together. Am. Was.
Will be.
Has been. Have or has been. Very good. Get.
Got. Will get.
Has or has gotten. All right, we'll do one more. Tear.
Will tear.
Have or has torn. I think row 2 got the easy part of that one. We'll try to see if we can do something more difficult for you. All right, we'll do this by level. Level 1 will say, this is adjectives, and we're going to do the comparative and superlative degrees. I'll give you the first one. Level 1 will give me the second one, and levels 2 and 3 will give me the third one. I'll give you an example. The positive degree of the adjective is sad. The comparative would be what? Sadder. And the superlative would be saddest. All right? Here we go. Glad.
Gladder. Gladdest.
Mad.
Madder. Maddest.
Red.
Redder. Reddest.
Big.
Bigger. Biggest.
And dim.
Dimmer. Dimmest.
Very good. These might have been new terms for you younger students. The positive degree, the comparative degree, and the superlative degree of the adjective. Since we have been very cooperative today, we're going to have our lunches. And Lee, who is one of our older students, is going to help us out with the lunches. And how would you like us to do that?
Just maybe by row, go out and find.
By row, you're going to go out and find your lunch, which has been prepared for you to talk about, and it will have your name on it. And could we have the first row of boys can go get yours, and the first row of girls can go get yours. This row stay, and have everybody out there at a time.
Get your historic lunches, not your real lunches. Look up.
Remember, we are expected to be quiet when we go into the cloakroom. I don't want any misbehavior in there. Now, I want you to open a napkin in which your parents, your mother or father, has packed your lunch. And I want you to examine what you're going to be eating here in just a few minutes, quietly. And then I do want you to discuss what you have with your lunch, in your lunch, with the person across from you. And think of why you might have that in your lunch. Is it because you raise chickens? And of course you would have an egg in your lunch. You'll have a couple of minutes to discuss your lunch with the neighbor across the aisle, and in your case, the kid with the chocolate. I see some very interesting lunches. Now I'm going to call upon a few of you to show us what was in your lunch and maybe explain why you have that particular lunch. Did your mother bake those cookies last night? Is that sausage from the hog that you butchered last fall? Did you buy those crackers at the store? You'll share that kind of information with us. Maybe you have a garden, maybe that's where that carrot came from. And I'll call people at random to show us what you have in your lunch and tell us a little bit about it if you can. Anna Yaveski.
My mom and my dad work at a farm, and the people that they work for butchered the hog, and that's how I got my bacon. My mom makes cookies and bread, that's how I got my bread and cookies.
Did you help at all? Are you learning how to bake cookies?
Yeah.
Thomas Lawley.
Okay, I got this pair and these crackers from the store. I got the cheese from the store because I like cheese. And I got this cookie-like thing from Walmart.
She is a good baker, isn't she? We all like her cookies. Sarah McGuire.
I got 12 pieces of bread at the store, and I picked an apple from a tree. And my dad's friend is a farmer, and he got hog. And my mom baked these cookies.
Yes, I will look forward to your cookies. James Smalley.
My mom picked this off a tree, and then my mom was just color and got crackers.
And Joseph has the same lunch today, doesn't he? Patrick Tierney. What do you have, Patrick?
I baked these cookies, and then we made chocolate and bacon.
Nathaniel Gilmore. Oh, those look good.
I got these grapes from the
Would you hold those up so people can see them? Don't those look yummy?
the horse.
You grill grapes, don't you?
And I got this from the store. Got these crackers from the store also. And my mom baked the cookies.
Very good. Thank you, Nathaniel. And we'll have one more person. Jane Baser.
Okay. And we got them from the store. And I have sausage because my dad's friend is a farmer. And my mom makes cookies.
The bread looks good. Did she bake that this morning? Is it fresh bread? Wonderful. Very good. Thank you for sharing about your lunches today. Now I want you to very carefully repack the lunch and put them in your pail. And just as we did before, we're going to go one row at a time. And you'll put this lunch back where you found it, up on the shelf. And you have some other lunch that you're actually going to eat for lunch, which is our next event. So the middle two rows, we'll start with you since you were last time, right? All right, while we're out of character here for a minute, I'll explain the next couple of activities to get us sort of wound down into school mode again. And also take this opportunity to talk about the lunches. You had a chance to look at an old-fashioned lunch that might have been eaten by a child your age back in 1876. and they were brought to school in a bucket or some kind of container that would go back and forth every day. A lot of us, many of us brought paper sacks, but I noticed a lot of you have lunch boxes of different kinds so that you can carry it more than once. So if you brought a paper bag, you threw it away, probably most of you, instead of carrying the same bag. A lot of the lunches that I noticed had a lot of packaging, and we have 2 waste baskets full of waste. Would we have had that back in 1876? You would have taken the bucket home, you would have taken the napkin home. There might have been the end of a carrot that you didn't want to eat the green stem, or the apple core, but it would have been the kind of waste that could have just disintegrated into soil again if you threw it into the dirt. It would compost itself. So that's something that you might want to think about as you do your own lunch. Well, maybe today I won't bring something that I have to throw away half of it later. Maybe I could bring something that I'm going to eat it all. I'm not going to throw away anything. I can reuse the plastic bag. And of course today is, we didn't want to carry around empty plastic bags, but it's something for us to think about. You'll need your penmanship copybook that you wrote some things on from your reading. We're going to do that lesson and also the memory lesson. So I'll give you one last chance to glance at the board because you're not going to be able to turn around and look at those again if you've forgotten them. And we're getting ready to start back into our real schoolroom of 1876 again. Level 1 students, would you please stand up? I'm going to give you the state or territory, and you as a group, would you like to stand over here so you have to think of it all by yourself? It's good to be in a group sometimes when you have to say the things together. You just stand right here. I'm going to give you the state or territory, and you will give me the capital just as you memorized it. Minnesota. Wisconsin.
Madison.
Illinois.
Springfield.
Missouri.
Jefferson City.
Nebraska.
Lincoln.
Dakota Territory.
Yankton.
Very good. Thank you. Can one of you level 1 students tell us why we picked those particular students? Why would that particular group be a good one to learn? Yes? They all touch the state of Iowa. Right. They are our neighbors. Level 2 students, stand up. Whenever I can give you either the city or the state, give me the opposite one. Yankton. Good. Lincoln.
Nebraska.
Missouri.
Jefferson City.
Springfield.
Illinois.
Wisconsin.
Madison.
St. Paul.
Minnesota.
Excellent. You may sit down. Level 3s. Remember, you have to say them all on your own in order. How many of you would like to do it without me? Then I won't help you. Are you ready? All right. Minnesota.
St. Paul. Wisconsin. Madison. Illinois. Springfield. Missouri. Jefferson City. Lincoln. Dakota Territory. Yankton.
Yes, they did it. Very nice, level 3s. I am impressed. Now, if you'll look at your copybook, you wrote the only group which read this. You guys up here. There is a short poem that is good for all of us to know, but level one of you will volunteer to tell us what the moral is. We are but minutes, little things, each one furnished with 60 wings, with which we fly on our unseen track, and not a minute ever comes back. We are but minutes, use us well, for how we are used we must one day tell. Who uses minutes has hours to use. Who loses minutes, whole years must lose. What is the moral of that little poem?
Use your time wisely.
Use your time wisely, yes. Be very careful how you spend those minutes. Right, these are all good answers. And you read another little story about a white kitten. And that white kitten got dirty. It was playing where it wasn't supposed to be playing. What is the moral for us as children? We're not kittens, but what should we learn from that story? Okay, we called on somebody else willing? Right. Any other ideas? Right. Bad things will happen if you're where you're not supposed to be. Yes. Right. Exactly. Very good morals that our level 1 people told us. Level 2 people, look at your answers. And yours was a longer story. Briefly, for those of you who didn't read it, a young woman was talking to her teacher and talking about how ugly another person's hands were. They were not attractive. And the teacher told this young lady something. What was the moral of this story? Yes, sir?
Don't judge others by looks.
Right. What was the young girl doing who had very rough, well-used hands? She had to work real hard.
She's helping her mother doing her beads.
She had to help her mother and work, and her hands were not maybe as attractive as some other young ladies. Any other moral for that someone has written down? Yes?
I did a long yard beautiful.
Right. It's what's inside that makes you beautiful. It isn't if you have pretty fingernails or something like that. Very good. Now our level 3 students had a longer piece to read, and it was a factual piece, and it was about what? Yes?
Indian corn.
About Indian corn. So look at your papers. We want some facts about what you learned about Indian corn. Yes, sir?
You must know what you talk about.
All right. Yes?
Few plants are more useful to man than Indian corn or maize. Indian corn is now the leading crop in the United States, and corn to do well must have a rich soil and a warm climate.
We grow a lot of corn here, don't we? Yes. We have the right ingredients, yes.
Indians were the first to grow corn.
Right. It was a native plant. Anything else about corn that you remember from your reading? Good job. Now, Leanne, who is our oldest student here today, is going to help me out because it is so nice. We are going to have part of you go outside and do some activities outside for recess. And the other half will stay in here for a few games. And then you'll switch places. And those people will go outside and the other group will come inside. This is the cup and ball. And this isn't easy. You try to throw this so that it will land in the cup. And you have to, there's your wrist, and you probably will have to do it several times. You have to sort of Put it away. Oops. Well, maybe you will get it in, maybe you won't, like I did. So let's have, who wants to start with this? We'll have.
Is there marbles?
Yes.
Yay, marbles.
And we'll do 3. Please start with that. And why don't you go back there by the piano? And Travis, your volunteer. And
I want to do marbles.
I'll get 2. Let's have you 2 and you. Go back to the marbles. And you 3 can do Jacob's ladder, which is here. And when you get tired of that, you can do pick up sticks. And if you'll take these over to the other side of the platform. And oops, here, I have a couple more. I didn't see. Let's have those. You 2 go over there and pick up sticks. Jacob's ladder and pick up sticks go to the other side of the platform.
Okay, I need you to just listen for 2 minutes, and then you'll get to try some games the kids would have played on the playground in 1876, okay? The first one is called Hoops and Sticks. This is a hand-eye coordination game. They didn't have computers. So this was one of theirs to work on their hand-eye coordination and to see how good they could get and see if they could beat their fellow classmates. What you're going to do is take the hoop and you're going to roll the hoop using the stick. Watch and I'll show you just for a second. All you're going to do is push it. Don't hit your hoop because that'll make it wobble all over the place. Push it a little bit from behind and get it to roll, okay? So if you do it right, well, if I do it right, it looks like this. Okay, you should be able to get it going really good. Oh, wait. Okay, the next game that we're going to play, if you have a chance to do each of these, is called Braces. This is basically a game of catch, except instead of a ball, you're going to use a hoop and sticks, okay? Would you hold those 2 sticks and stand about behind his van? There. Now, so what you're going to do is you're going to toss the hoop back and forth using the sticks, and to toss it, you start with them crossed and pull them apart, and your hoop should fly, and then your partner will be able to catch it. Cool. Very good. Hey, do you want to try that? What do you do? So you want to get it to go not quite so hard and up a little bit. Okay, so I need each of you to get a partner.
No, I don't believe it. You got it. Oh, yeah. I'm in it. Got it. Got it. It's like a kid. Whitney! Daddy! I'll get help! Whitney! There's plenty of room. Spread out. You don't have to do
How many of you enjoy playing the braces? I think everyone figured out the Jacob's ladder, even I did, sort of. I did yesterday because of misbehavior. I'll have to wash the blackboards by myself probably. But I know it's a nice day and you want to get home and do some activities outside. We have a couple of more lessons. We're going to be doing our geography lesson next. And this is memory from previous lessons. Do you remember studying the meets and bounds system?
No.
Or the system which replaced the meets and bounds system? Did you use the maps? How to do coordinates on the maps? I think you might remember once we get started. Does anybody remember what the meets and bounds system was? This has to do with how to divide up land, how to recognize what land belongs to whom. Yes?
They put it to square miles and
That's what replaced the old system. Right. What did they do before they had a real good system? Yes?
They tried to make all the counties square.
That was a bit later. Now think about it. If I said this land belongs to me, from, yes,
Boundary lines?
what marked the boundaries? Were they real lines?
No, they were like rivers or trees.
Right. What was the matter with that system? I'd say my land ends at Ralston Creek and it goes to the orchard on the south and the big rock ledge on the east. What might be the matter with me describing my property that way?
rocks and trees and rivers can shift course and
That's
change
right. They weren't permanent. Landmarks changed. So they went to a new system. And what do you know about the new system? Yes? I'm sorry?
The Elocution Lesson here
Yes.
in 1967.
In 67, I don't know.
Maybe you mean 76.
But that, in long before that there would have been. And in fact, there's some pictures that you can look at a little bit later. Yes?
Each county had 24 by 24 square miles.
All right.
But that could change because of rivers.
Right, I have to make up for that, didn't they? So this rectangular survey system replaced the old boundaries of landmarks. Now there are two lines which divided these rectangles into townships. Do you remember what two lines, what the names of those lines are? Yes.
Horizontal and vertical.
Right. What else? One starts with a T, one starts with an R. Range is one of them. What is the other one?
Crowded.
Yes. No. Township. Township lines and range lines. Township lines ran which direction?
East-west.
East and west. So the range lines, everybody ran
North,
south. Right. What is the area of a township? 6 square miles. Very good. What are the 36 squares called which are contained in a township? So we're going down and down and down. We divide the township into what? No, starts with an S. Sections. Is that where you go?
Yeah.
Sections. Townships are divided into sections. And does anybody know how we got the word acre? Did you hear that story? All right, you're our spokesperson today. It has to do with an ox, or a pair of oxen. An acre was the amount, yes, was the amount of land that an oxen, yes? Yellow. Exactly. Going to have you help me out. We're going to do some map practice. And I'll give each of you a bunch. Everybody should get a map. We'll have some practice using the map. Now you're going to have to listen carefully. We'll put your skills to work. Here is your first problem. What town is located at Township Line 80 North, Range Line 7 West? When you find it, raise your hand. Township 80 North, Range 7 West. What town is located at those coordinates? Good, we have some level 1 students who are new at this. Very good. All right, those of you who have your hand up, what is the name of that town?
Tiffin.
Everybody? Tiffin. All right, you're getting on to this. Now, we're going to reverse it a little bit. Find Penn Township. Penn Township. I'm not going to give you the coordinates. What are the coordinates for that approximately?
Town 80 North and Range 6 West.
That's approximately where it is. Now, you've found Penn Township, sort of in the middle of the map, maybe on the north hand part a little bit more. What town is located in Penn Township? Now raise your hand when you find that. Everybody together.
North Liberty.
Very good. Now, I want you to look at the bottom. There is a key, what's called a key to the map. There are some little symbols, and they're sort of blurry. I'm sorry about that. But there is a symbol for a schoolhouse and a symbol for a church. You see where that is located at the bottom of the map, where it says Johnson County. That's where it is.
Hey, I see a little schoolhouse symbol.
I guess it does give it to you. Let's look at in Sharon County at the bottom of the map, right above it where it says sectional map.
Sharon Township.
And there's a little building with a steeple on it, that's a church. And the post offices are labeled PO, so you can find those. And then there are other little buildings there, those are the schoolhouses. That's a symbol for schoolhouse. It is. What is it? Well, good. That's pretty exciting. What? Name's named after you. Now, you know what the little schoolhouse symbol looks like? Everybody? Okay. Which township has the most schools? Which township has the most of those little schools? Some of them are very close to the most. So we might hear some different answers here. Find one that looks like it has a lot of those little symbols, count them. Find at least one more, see which one has the most. All right, let's get some ideas. What do you think it is?
Sharon.
Sharon. And how many did you count in Sharon Township?
I didn't really count them, I just looked.
Okay. Yes, what do you think?
Washington.
Washington, and how many did you count?
I just looked.
Aha. Did anybody count the ones in Washington?
There's 11. There was some churches though.
You couldn't quite tell. Actually, I counted 10 in Washington.
Yeah, I counted 10 too.
And what are a couple of others that are very close to that? Yes.
Oxford.
Oxford, maybe?
Cedar.
Cedar?
Has 10.
I counted 9. That's possible. And there's another one that starts with a G.
Graham.
Graham. Right. So they're all very similar. Now, we'll do the opposite. Which township has the least number of schools? The least number. Okay, everybody in this row has your hand up. What do you think it is? Anybody else think it's something other than Lincoln? Yes.
I think it's
Newport. Let's all look at Newport. You tell us sort of where Newport is. All right. How many did you count? 1?
schoolhouse.
Why do you think Newport has so few schools?
Lincoln only has one.
Lincoln has 4.
No, those are churches.
Some of them are sort of confusing with the churches. There might be one that I missed. But Newport does have very few. We only have one person who has a good idea why. Ah, yes, some other people have ideas. Why do you think?
Because Antoinette has a lot of dots around
Right, it hasn't been settled yet, has it? There's not a lot of cultivated land in that particular area. Another idea.
There are no towns in Newport.
Right, it's difficult to settle there. The ground is not good for farming.
There may not be very many people living there.
Right, for all of these reasons, yes.
Is it still like that now?
I'm sorry,
Is it still like that now?
somewhat. That part, it's right along the riverbank and it's not as populous as some other places. Very good map study. Would you please pass the maps forward now? Now, listen carefully, because you're not taking notes or anything. All of you are going to read the information on the blue card by your station. And then as a group, you're going to present the information to the rest of the class. You'll only have about 4 minutes to gather your information, decide on who's going to say what. All right, it's time for you to read your information. Do it quietly. Then visit quietly and we'll have some information given to us in just a few minutes. One more minute. All right, everybody quiet. I expect you to be good listeners while the other groups are presenting their information. After you have presented, you may sit down. So we'll have fewer people standing. It'll be a little easier to hear. We need everybody to be quiet right now. And maybe we better start with this group because there are some punishments you might need to know about. Everybody pay attention to our discipline group, please. You're going to tell us about discipline in this school. Yes, everyone else is going to be a good listener.
The dunce cap was used as punishment for boys and girls who did bad stuff. They also could hit a kid on the hand with a ruler or a willow switch. There was actually a lot of punishments, like if it was a boy that got in trouble, they would have to sit with the girls.
Terrible punishment, wouldn't it be?
Well, not if it's a boy like the girl.
Or if it was a boy, they would have to wear a bonnet.
look forward to, right? Anything else about discipline?
They also would have to stay in for recess or stay after school.
Thank you very much. Your group may sit down now and be good listeners for our rest of the presentations. Let's have our stove group. I hope the stove is not going today. Tell us about the stove.
Properly, stove stood in the center of the room, center of a one-room schoolroom to provide the best distribution of heat.
One of the most common memories of the rural school is the big metal stove which provided heat to the school in the winter. The stove sat in the middle of the room where it was thought would give the best heat. Teachers usually received extra money to build the stove fire. Emma Bratz taught at the school in 1887 and received an extra $2.50 a month in winter for building the stove fire.
The stove in the school in 1876 probably burned either coal or wood.
Can you show us what that was like? Okay, the coal and the shovel, the coal inside the stove, and it was in a bucket here. Anything else about the stove? It's up to you.
It is a cold winter day. Use the shovel to load the stove with more coal from the stove. Careful, the stove is hot. Better use the rag to open. Use the rag to help you open that door.
Right, you wouldn't want to touch your bare hand as you open the door to put in the coal, would you? Thank you very much. Would you close the doors for us? And you people may return to your desks. And let's have our flag group next.
An American flag probably hung somewhere in the classroom. There would not have been a state flag because Iowa did not have one until the 1820s.
Count the number of stars on the flag. How many are there? You know why? What state was it admitted to Union? August 1, 1876.
So how many stars do we have?
There are 38 stars on this flag, and each star represents one state. In 1876, there were 38 states. Today the flag has 50 stars.
And what state was admitted to the Union in 1876? It's called the Centennial State? Colorado. Thank you, flag people. And this is the way the flag would have been displayed, a bit different from the draping that you see in places today. Flag people may sit down, and let's have our moral behavior group tell us about that.
Positive behavior was not the classroom. Classrooms often have learned wisdom on the walls,
And many stories in children's readers include moral lessons.
little children need moments to play, listen, and the trouble of mind.
Better be an hour early to stand and wait than running behind the time.
Report cards usually included a place to grade a student's behavior or deportment. The grades are quite different than what we have today. They had G pluses. Yeah, they had G pluses and E's and A's and B's and C's and these guys. Then they had numbers for some of those.
Very good. Let's look around our room. What is our first one over here on the left? above the blackboard, you should always pay attention to. Honest, everybody together.
Honesty is the best policy.
Next is what?
Be kind and courteous.
And the third one?
Lend a hand.
Very good, thank you. And we have one more group to talk to us about a very important item, water.
The water fountain. There are no water fountains in the school in 1876. If you were thirsty, you had to drink of water. You had to get a drink of water from the bucket using a dipper. Everyone used to say dipper.
There was no running water in the school or outside. Water had to be carried from the nearest neighbor's house, which was about a half-mile away.
2 pupils were usually appointed to fetch water from the closest farmhouse. Often 2 friends volunteered to get the water. If the 2 friends were not the same height, the water would splash out of the bucket, leaving very little water by the time that it reached the school building. Great burns.
It's heavy, isn't it, boys?
This pail is
Pail of water.
as heavy as a pail. Oh, this pail is as heavy as a pail of water would be.
Work
How
up your
much do you
muscles.
think it weighs? So you can carry it a half mile, 20 pounds.
20 pounds, a half a mile, and you might splash it out. People would be very upset if there wasn't enough water by the end of the day. Very good. Thank you very much for telling us about that. Now we're going to shift to the present. I'm really Mrs. Hoover, and I've thoroughly enjoyed having you here today. We have a final activity. We have 3 areas for you yet to look at. There are some exhibition areas on either side of the room. There are also some projects that other students have done who have participated in the one-room school activity. So one group will be looking at that. A second group will be in the hallway. There is a photo there, a series of photos that I want you to look at, and also some clothing of the period. Well, like the period, it isn't the real original clothes, that you may try on. There's a mirror there, you can see what it would have been like. And a third group will ring the bell. You may take photos at this time. And you will shift so that you get to do each of these things. So one group will stay here, second in the hallway, third group upstairs. And
You can get it right now. I think you have it on back for the time.
okay, group in trying on the clothes, would you please return the clothes? Because I think the middle ringers are coming down.
Can you listen just for a second? The key to doing this, if you want to be able to hear the bell as you're ringing it, we're all going to have to be quiet because it's outside and we're inside, so it's not as loud inside as it would sound if it was outside. So remember to let the rope go back up. You don't need to ring it too hard, and you should be able to hear it. We'll each ring it 3 times, and then if you want to go back and have a seat on the stairs, we're not going to go down the stairs because it makes too much noise. And if we do that, by the time we get to the people at the end of the line, they can't hear it. Okay? Okay. Good job.
My camera's out, Phil, Mandy.
Wave. Wave. There you go.
I want to thank Our director is attending a meeting, marker meeting. She couldn't be with us and hated to miss it, but she had other obligations. And we hope that this is a meaningful experience and that you enjoyed yourself and also had a taste of what it was like in a school like this in 1876. And Coralville Central is a good school to have nearby. You just get to walk over. I'm glad you had a good day to do that. I appreciate your cooperation and your teacher for preparing you for this day. And you will be receiving something in the mail from me in a few days. And hopefully you and your parents will be coming to an open house on the 15th.
Yes.
And I just might show up at that myself.